What saddens me the most today is that the agency that is supposed to protect you is actually abandoning you. But what I am pleased to be able to say today is that the fight to save net neutrality does not end today. The agency does not have the final word. Thank goodness for that.
This week, Donald Trump's Republican-dominated FCC voted to end the Obama-era net neutrality rules that protect equal access to an open internet. It's a huge win for the conservatives on the Federal Communications Commission, especially for Ajit Pai, the former Verizon executive and FCC chairman who was the driving force behind repeal. But with states like New York and California threatening to appeal the decision in federal court, the future of the internet is buffering. And joining me now is one of the two Democratic commissioners who opposed the move to drop net neutrality, Mignon Clyburn. And Commissioner Clyburn, thank you so much for being here. You're just the person I wanted to talk to today on this.
Thank you.
So you said in your really moving, dramatic speech in which you made your valiant defense of net neutrality that the fight is not over. We know that several states are suing.
Yes.
That, including New York, and here's a little doc here from New York's Attorney General Schneiderman, the announcement, and he said he's going to sue to stop the illegal rollback of net neutrality. In your view, does that, who can he sue, first of all? Would he be suing you guys?
He can sue the agency. We made the decision. We made it very clear to the American people that we were no longer going to protect them when it comes to the Internet, their experiences over the Internet. We weakened the rules. We took ourselves, the expert agency, out of the protection process, and we punted to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, which has no background when it comes to net neutrality protections, and they can only help you after a harm is done. And so we took ourselves out of the consumer protection business. We gave the keys to the Internet to a handful of large multi-billion-dollar Internet service providers, and the rest of us, small businesses and the customers, we're on our own. We will only be able to fend for ourselves and hope for a fair treatment over the Internet. But there is no guarantee.
And the agency, the FCC, also did this with a comment period that was tainted by fake comments, that people are impersonating other people in order to take advantage of the comment period. Here's Attorney General Schneiderman talking about that.
7 months ago, my office began investigating a flood of fake comments submitted to the FCC in the public comment period for net neutrality. We've now found at least 2 million fake comments that use the stolen identities of people across the country, including 100,000 New Yorkers. We asked the FCC to help in our investigations, but waited months to hear back.
How can that have gone through without an investigation first?
I don't understand why the agency that in the past has worked cooperatively with attorneys general basically ignored the cries from the attorney general saying, you know, we've got stolen identities. And we've even found traces to Russia, about 500,000 pro-repeal, people who wanted to get rid of net neutrality protections. They can prove that information, those submissions were made by Russian influencers. So it's perplexing to me that if we see a process that has been compromised, our online system has been compromised, which skewed the opinions that people saw over the Internet, meaning those who wanted to get rid of net neutrality protections, and made it look like more people wanted to, when in fact the vast majority of legitimate commenters were pro-net neutrality. They wanted to keep our rules in place.
And in addition to getting rid of net neutrality, I think a lot of people don't understand that the FCC, Ajit Pai and his cohort on the FCC, not only ended net neutrality at the federal level, they also prevented states.
Yes.
If states want to have net neutrality, this is part of, we talked about this earlier in the show, forcing Trumpism on unwilling states and cities that are blue, that want to live under blue state, blue city rules, such as saying, you can't do that. You must live under our rules as well. Can you talk a little bit about how it could be possible that the federal FCC could stop states from doing net neutrality?
Well, that's questionable, and that should and will be challenged. And not only did we say the states can't play in this space, they can't protect or enhance consumer protections for their own neighbors and citizens, we didn't give them proper notice. So that process in and of itself is flawed. So this whole process leading up to this decision, it's obvious that the fix was in, no matter what millions of Americans said, no matter how much notice we did not give, they were going to repeal the net neutrality rules, due process or not.
And Newsweek did a piece that talked about who will be likely hurt once net neutrality is gone. You mentioned small businesses, yes. Things like the Me Too movement, minority women, people who depend on the open internet, yes, to do activism. I think about Black Lives Matter, people who, yes, really depend on the internet as a lifeline. Can you just explain for those who don't understand why you object to getting rid of these rules? Who will be hurt if these rules are gone?
Individuals, particularly those with businesses online. Your internet service provider does not look like the same provider you signed up for service with 10 or 12 years ago. They are now in the content business. They are producing movies and shows. And they even own, and you know this well, they even own media companies.
Yes.
So they have an advantage. They have content. And if you have a competing business or concern, they can favor the experiences online for their customers over the experiences online in terms of your applications, how your website is being treated, and the access to your site. They can favor theirs and disfavor yours. They can block, they can slow down, they can choke at these what we call interconnection points, which will make the difference whether a customer can get to your website, have a good experience when it comes to your businesses, especially if it's an interactive online experience. Say if I had a competing movie streaming type of service, if I keep buffering or things keep slowing down, then you're not going to watch me. But if they advantage their businesses, then their content and that flow of information will thrive, and others would not. We would not know anything about Ferguson, Missouri, if the provider was able to block, yeah, or throttle. Because the media outlets, you remember, they weren't covering Ferguson.
That's right.
They weren't covering that movement until that hashtag started trending. That's the power of the internet. We will be better able to tell our stories, to promote our businesses, to enhance our ability to find out what's going on in the world, but not if an internet service provider has the keys to our success, the keys to the internet, that they will be able to block or slow down or inhibit free speech. That's what's at stake today.
Yeah. And Mignon Clyburn, FCC Commissioner, a lot of people don't know much about the FCC, and they don't realize how much you have been fighting for a very long time to try to bolster the voices and access of minority media businesses and of all Americans to have access. So Mignon Clyburn, I thank you. Thank you from those of us who care about a free internet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to serve.
Thank you very much. And coming up, Republicans are one step closer to changing the tax code as we know it. That's next.